You know, hate is a really strong word. Yeah, that's why I'm using it. Hello, friends! I am Emily, and this is Ink Not Blood. Like I've mentioned a million times, are you tired of hearing it yet? I'm still pretty new to BookTube, but it didn't take me long to find out that The Darkest Minds is one of the most beloved and most hyped series out there. With the movie coming out, I knew that I wanted to get in there and see what all the fuss was about. So in the course of about a week, I read the book and went to see the movie. Before I go any further, I should probably clarify that I have only read The Darkest Minds and I haven't read any of the other books in the series. Overall, I liked The Darkest Minds. I enjoyed reading it, and I thought there was a lot of interesting character depth that was brought in throughout the novel. Plus, I always love stories about people who are coping with what it's like to have new supernatural powers. That being said, I wasn't 100% in love with it like a lot of people seem to be. I found it to be pretty predictable and a little unoriginal at times. But like I said, overall, I enjoyed it. But there were just some things that just made me want to punch a wall. And that goes for both the book and the movie. So let's jump into the 6 things I hated about The Darkest Minds. Starting with the book. A quick warning that for both the book and the movie, there are some minor spoilers ahead. Not major plot points, but things that might spoil it if you are extra guarded. Don't be ashamed, that's usually how I am. Keep everything away from me. All right, first blood. Femininity as an insult. Ooh, man, you know, I usually don't drag authors for things in their books that I don't like, but Alexandra Bracken, I mean, come on! Several times throughout the book, Liam prods or insults Chubbs by casting him in the lens of femininity. He calls him a lady or compares him to a girl, or I think maybe he calls him princess one time, all in order to poke fun at Chubbs. Yes, it is meant to be friendly, but anytime that femininity is used as an insult, I'm out. I mean, talk about toxic. Implying that being a girl somehow makes you weak or less than, even jokingly, is super problematic. At this very moment, I won't dive into the many reasons for this, but I'll link some resources in the description so you can educate yourself. Now, if we were supposed to dislike Liam, that would be one thing, okay. But we're supposed to like him a lot. But Liam, and Bracken for that matter, can take that sexist bullshit, shove it right up there. Moving on! Number 2, improbable character thoughts and knowledge. Now this book is narrated by a 16-year-old girl who has been imprisoned since she was 10 years old. Imagine yourself as a 10-year-old. What kind of knowledge did you have? What was your experience of the world? And how did you behave? Now imagine spending years 10 through 16 in a strict prison camp, where you are shut off from the outside world and barely even able to interact with your peers. You wouldn't exactly turn out like a normally adjusted 16-year-old. There were just some times in the book where Ruby would say something that I thought seemed really unlikely, like references to musical artists or world events or institutions. It was stuff that just didn't seem like it was from the perspective of a 16-year-old whose experience had been drastically stunted. It definitely took me out of the story, and to me, that's a failure in the writing. Number 3, use of powers without any thought to invasiveness or consent. This one actually bleeds into the movie a little bit, but let's start with the book. There's a character in the book who teaches Ruby how to use her powers to mess with other people's minds. And not once does she seem to pause and think, gee, it's really horrible to just waltz into people's minds so casually just to mess with them. Even though, yeah, it really is horrible. The moral line on this one seems pretty damn hazy. In Ruby's eyes, erasing people's memories makes her a monster, but messing with them for fun or for practice? Yeah, totally okay. What? At one point in the book, she uses her powers to convince another person that their name isn't what they think it is, ultimately bringing that person to tears. Not cool! I mean, gaslighting much? And then there's the movie where Liam uses his telekinetic powers to move people around, which is downright uncomfortable. Listen, if I want to come to you, I'll do that. How about you keep your powers off my body? Speaking of the movie, these next 3 things had me yelling at the screen and doing a lot of this. Did you? What? Why? No. That's not how it's supposed to be. Okay. So let's look at number 4, unclear power limits. In the camp breakout scene, Liam seems to take that fence down pretty easily. Either he's really powerful or that camp needs to beef up its security. I mean, they know that they're hosting kids with telekinetic powers, right? So why didn't Liam or someone else break out sooner? Also, if he can make people float around, why didn't he just float somebody over the fence, or even float himself over the fence? I mean, why aren't all the Blues just like flying around? Because that's what I would be doing. His powers seem so strong, but only at specific times. This lack of clear limits for certain powers wasn't something that stood out for me in the book, but in the movie theater it definitely had me scratching my head. Number 5, the damn glowing eyes. Just why? Why? Why did they put this in the movie? On screen, whenever a character used their power, not only would their eyes glow, but they would glow with the color corresponding to that power. Seriously? So cheesy. How was that a necessary change from the book? You really didn't think that people would be able to figure out that a character was using their power without giving us some sort of obvious visual? Did we really need to be spoon-fed something so basic? Do you have no faith in your audience? Not to mention it takes away any chance of subtlety or a character using their power surreptitiously. When exactly do a green's eyes light up? When they're, what? Being smart? Really? Really? I was so mad every time it happened. Alright, the last thing on my list is actually my biggest disappointment with the movie, and when I talk about it, I am going to dive into some heavy spoilers, so feel free to click away if you want your narrative-consuming brain to remain untarnished. So here we go, number 6. The erasure of important character backstory. Backstory plays a huge role in the book and adds some much-needed depth to some of our core characters. In the movie, Ruby's backstory is clipped short and muddied. I mean, was I the only one who thought it was unclear whether or not she erased her dad's memory? And where the hell was Sam? I mean, I know they can't keep everything from the book, but really? How is this girl supposed to believe she's a monster if she doesn't have all that ammo to back that thought up? Liam is supposed to be crippled with guilt after getting so many kids killed during the camp breakout. In the movie, the breakout appears to be largely successful and results in only a few casualties. I was under the impression that most of the kids involved in the breakout were killed, not just a couple. And carrying the weight of that is huge to Liam's character. And then we've got Chubbs, who's supposed to be driven by his own guilt, haunted by the friend who died saving his life. But that was just left out completely. How are these characters supposed to suffer, learn, change, and grow if you remove some of the central tragedies that are key to their stories? Where is the complexity? Where is the depth? The movie really let me down in that respect. It felt like they opted for action and visual effects rather than investing in meaningful narrative and character arcs. What a bummer. Oh, bonus round! One final complaint and then I swear I'm done. With all the things that had to be cut from the book, why did we add in that stupid keychain? Alright, I think that's enough ranting for one day, so let's just cut to the awkward goodbye. How do you do goodbye in Morse code? That was probably close, right? Yeah. Hey, the sun's coming out a little bit. That's nice. Thoughts and knowledge.